Hi, this is Dr. Toby Moma, your host on Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby, inviting you to watch our show this week. We have a special guest, Miss Felicia Downs. She's a local of the area, trained, raised in Bastrop. She's going to share her heart with us about the community. She's a licensed community social worker, went to ULM and went on to Southern University in New Orleans, and she's going to be pouring out her heart about her pet project. She just opened an agency called Resilience, and it's designed to mitigate the after effects of perinatal morbidity mortality on our young children under 1 year of age. You don't want to miss it. She's going to pour out her heart about family, about the church, about spirituality, and how being a social worker has inspired her to make a difference. This is a lady who's lived a life as a daughter, as a sister, and as a minister in the church, and she wants to be a blessing to you through this medium. So don't miss it. Check it out. God bless you. Jesus is Lord.
No, no problem.
Hi, this is Dr. Toby. I am your host on Health and Wellness with Dr. Toby. It's an honor to have you on my show. Don't touch that dial. We have a great show today. I have a guest, special guest, Felicia Downs. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She's just recently started a agency called Resilience in the community in Monroe. But she's been in the community for years. She's trained at ULM in those days when it was called NLU, and she has a master's also in social work from Southern University in New Orleans. Welcome on the show, Felicia.
Thank you.
What an honor to have you. We used to sit together in church. And
We
I
did.
said, in part of my medical experience, a lot of people, including physicians, don't even know what, who, what, where social workers fit in. We have them in the hospital. I'm at the University of Mississippi, and we
Okay.
depend on them to place a lot of our patients
Patients,
on
right.
discharge. But I
Right.
can imagine the audience listening to me, they really don't
Right.
have an idea what
Right.
the social workers do. So I'm going to bring you in to challenge that stereotype. You
Okay.
know, I think the average individual watching thinks a social worker is sits in the back of the office trying to fill out some paperwork for disability or help somebody get food stamps. So what is the reality? Who is a social worker from your perspective and from your experience?
Okay. Social workers do a lot of different things. We are social workers. To be called a social worker, you have to have a master's degree or a bachelor's degree in social work, accredited by the Council of School of Social Work Education. We are brokers, we're change agents, we're mediators, we are case managers. We do a lot of different things within a lot of different capacities. So we have a multi dimension field where we work in a host of different avenues. We work in schools, we work in long-term care facilities, we work in hospitals, we work for state government. So, and as of recently, we work in the NFL.
Oh wow! What do you do in the NFL?
The Carolina Panthers just hired the first LCSW to be
Okay.
a mental health therapist for their team.
Interesting. That's
Yes.
a new dimension for sure.
It is. It is. It
How
is.
did you get into social work? Give me a little background to your travesty, your tapestry. Sorry, your
Okay.
tapestry in the field of social work.
I began in social work right after high school. I was initially going to major in business, something in the monetary field, and some colleagues and friends was like, I don't think that's really you. I liked helping people. I liked working with children. I liked problem solving. So when I entered NLU at the time, social work was my major.
And what background did you come into college with? Because there are young high school students listening, so they want to know what high school subjects do I need to major in? Do I need to put priority on if I'm going to be a good social worker?
I think They're just having college prep, being English, being able to communicate with people, social studies, because we do a lot of work with communities, with people of diverse backgrounds. So, social studies, learning about history and some of the impacts history has had on different demographic groups is important.
So they don't really do a lot of chemistry, physics,
No,
biology
no.
as much as the pre-med and the dental.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
Hmm.
Give us a little background. I'm trying to get to know Felicia.
Okay.
Who is Felicia? So, high school, where were you?
Bastrop, Louisiana.
Okay. And elementary school.
Bastrop, Louisiana. Carver Elementary, Oak Hill Elementary.
Okay. Parents, were they graduates?
Yes, they were both high school graduates.
Okay.
And they worked blue collar jobs. Both worked in manufacturing. My father was in paper, and my mom was in clothing
The
textiles.
famous paper mill that shut
Yes.
down. Oh, wow,
Yes.
wow. So, were you actually, and I'll use this word loosely, the first to go to college, or was there other people ahead of you who had gone to college?
I was not the first to go to college. I have a maternal aunt who went to college, and I also had a paternal aunt and uncle who went to college, and my sister went to college before me. I was the first in my family to graduate college.
Okay, interesting. That's fantastic. Now, Bastrop is a small town, 5,000 people. I mean, everybody knew Felicia, right? So,
No, not
not
really.
really. Everybody in your class probably. I mean, were you like the standout high school valedictorian? I mean, because I'm trying to talk to some young high school student here who is like, should I go to college? Is it worth it? Because a lot of people think they put caps on what their performance possible achievements are right from high school. They look at themselves and say, I can never become a doctor. I can never become a social
Right,
worker.
right.
I don't have what it takes. I don't have the pedigree. I don't have the background. I don't have the connections. I don't have the financial resources. And what I'm hearing from you is that you did not have the the silver spoon,
Right. Oh, no.
gilt-edged advantage. You literally took the bull by the horns and said, I'm going to college.
Right, exactly. My parents, I was born in a two-parent household. My parents divorced when I was 9, so my mom primarily raised 3 children by herself. Even though my father was around and we had communication and contact with him. And in high school, I was not the smartest student. I was the student, I think I was sort of the average student. I had average grades. I was not involved in a lot of extracurricular activities, or I just was sort of the middle person that I had a lot of people. All of my friends or people I associated with were the well known. They were the most popular to succeed, and they excelled. But when I went to college, I was the first person from my graduating class to graduate.
Wow.
And I did better in college academically than I did in high school.
So what do you think was responsible?
I think I was more focused. I think I found something, I had a passion for what I was studying, and I pursued that. That whatever that I discovered that this is really, I want to work with people from different backgrounds, and I want them to become a better you. In social work, we always say we're people helping people. And that's what I found was my niche, that I'm a person I'm trying to help other people become better and overcome some of the things that they have endured and not allow past experiences or challenges to hold them back.
Wow. It's a 4-year program, right?
Correct.
And then the master's is a 1 or 2?
If you go into the master's program with a bachelor's degree in social work, you can complete it in a year.
In 1 year.
If
All right.
you can be requested for advanced standing. If not, if you go in with another degree, then it's a 2-year program.
And in this Northeast Louisiana, who offers, should I say, the master's and who offers the bachelor's program?
University of Louisiana Monroe, ULM, offers the bachelor's program, and also Grambling State University. And Grambling State University offers the master's program. And LSU has an online master's program that people can apply to.
LSU Shreveport or New Orleans?
LSU Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. Okay, interesting. Wow, interesting. Wow. So let's go back a little bit to this great Felicia, young 3-year sibling. You had one sister and a brother, or you had
Yes, I have an older sister and a younger
and a
brother.
younger brother. And your mom worked, hard to keep the family going.
Yes.
So tell me what role faith played in that young home. I don't want to say single parent home, but obviously it was a single parent home at
Right.
the point at that time. So what role did faith play in that home? Was there any role of faith? And did you come to did you meet Jesus along the way, or were you brought up in church and then you eventually came to know him personally?
Um, Faith played a great role. I was brought up in church, and then I became to know him personally for myself. My mom is a minister, and she instilled in us the power of prayer. She's a great intercessor that people still contact her today to pray for them and to just, she has had prayer revivals. So she's that type of mom that we were, my sister and I often recall that we were waking up in the middle of the night, my mom laying hands on us, praying for us. So she really interceded for us, but she also instilled us faith that we have to trust God for our life and trust that his will for us is what is best, and we need to seek out his will. She, stressed the importance of reading the word daily and to fast and to pray and really stay before God in everything that we do. Even though, as we grow up, you get older, you sort of steer away. But it was that foundation that kept me and brought me back in my early 20s that it's like, I've not have been faithful to God as he has been to me. And that I need to make some changes and really make him Lord of my life. Not just say that he's my savior, but that I'm following in his direction and, what he has instilled in us to do and follow out the plan that he put me here for.
And in the 70s and 80s, a lot of African American women could not stand on the pulpit and preach. Did you
Right.
know that? I don't know if
Yes,
you know that.
yes.
So you say your mom was a minister. Like, was
Right.
she licensed? Was she actually
No.
allowed to preach?
She was allowed to speak. So we
Okay.
don't utilize the word preach, She, which now, is more becoming
Yeah,
known
it's more
that,
prevalent,
she's
right.
preaching. But she was allowed to speak. She didn't stand in the pulpit.
Oh,
And
wow.
even today, I don't think she really does a lot of standing in the pulpit. I think that's just her, where she's comfortable
Right.
that she's, gone and spoken at different other ministries and churches. But, she's led Bible studies and Sunday school. And but yeah, there has been some progression with women in ministry.
So Bastrop today compared to Bastrop in your young days, I mean, you had a lot of fun growing up, right?
Right.
I mean, you weren't the wealthiest, but you were happy.
Correct.
Now you hear of murder, gunshots, you hear of robberies, and I'm not the only one who can say that, but I have friends who live in California, and they're originally from Bastrop, and
Oh,
they
wow.
tell me they hear the horror stories
Yes.
of murders and drugs, and so that wasn't in your time. That wasn't as common as it is today.
Correct. It was not as common, and there has been a lot of changes over the last 20 years. One of the neighborhoods or the housing development areas that is known for a lot of murders and a lot of violence taking place that I actually grew up in. And one of the things that my mom instilled in us is that we may live in the projects, but the projects doesn't have to live in you. And so we grew up with that mentality that we're not better, but this doesn't have to be our end result. And so that we have to be conscious of the decisions that we make and that these decisions are going to carry us, throughout life.
Amazing. So talking about social workers, because when I think of social workers, I think of going into dysfunctional homes, taking a child out of, child protective service, a girl who's 15 getting pregnant. And I know that's the wrong picture, but that's what most people think of when they think of social
Right,
workers.
right.
So give us a little experience. You've worked for maybe 20, 15, 10 years. I don't know how long.
Oh, since 1996, I've
Okay.
been working as a social
So
worker.
that's almost
20,
20
yeah.
years, at least 23, really.
Right.
So is this reality? Do you face difficult decisions of tearing families apart, taking a child away from a mother because she's not capable? Is this the reality? A girl who's 15 can't keep a baby and you have to put the child in a foster home. Is that the reality of a social worker? Do I go into social work expecting to face heartbreaking situations? Or is it just a picture I see on CSI and all those movies? Tell me if that's real
I
or
think
not.
it's a picture that's what we're known for as social workers. I'm actually trained in child welfare. I went through a Title IV-E program when I was at NLU. I've never worked for Child Protection Services. I was supposed to, but the state was on a hiring freeze, so I wasn't able to. But one of the things that I think people don't also highlight the amount of preventive work that we do of keeping families together, that we go above and beyond to try to make sure that family is able to stay together as a unit. And if we have to remove or if a family has to be separated, that they are kept in the context of their family, some family member, because we believe that children grow up best in their own
Your own
families.
family. Right. Wow. So 23 years, that's quite a time. That's quite a time. Now, I want to just go through your background because you
Okay.
just started a new agency. But before we talk about the new agency, where did you work in the last 20 years, and what's this new agency that you've just started in Monroe, so that my viewers
Okay.
can know about it and maybe plug into something that you're doing that they can benefit from?
Okay. I recently, when I first graduated from Northeast, I worked for a private nonprofit, Positive Forces Counseling, and it was my first introduction to mental health. I worked with children and their parents who were referred by then the Office of Mental Health. And so I did that for 5 years and decided that I wanted to go and pursue a master's degree. And I went to Southern University in New Orleans, came back. I was afforded the opportunity to work with Cognitive Development Center in Monroe, working with still children, but also added adults. So adults with severe mental illness, worked there for several years, and then changed positions and became the administrator. That we began to add more programs to that particular organization. Began to focus more on juvenile juveniles and in keeping more preventive work, home builders. We added multisystemic therapy, home builders, and then even added substance abuse to their programs. From there, we set up an office in Lake Charles. So I went to Lake Charles for a little while to establish that office, and I returned to Monroe a little while after returning to Monroe. I started working for the state of Louisiana, and I worked in primarily with adults, and for 4 years, and then I left because I developed this interest in infant mental health. Um, Work after completing a training. It was a training that was just offered talking about ACEs and what we were seeing and the impact of adverse childhood experiences on adults. And I really was like, I wanted to do more focusing on younger children. And so I started working as a consultant doing contracting with the Bureau of Family Health and working with one of their model programs, Nurse Family Partnership, and consulting with their teams. And from there, it's like this passion and this love that I felt like, okay, this makes so much sense. All of my training, everything that I have done in the past years is coming together. That I'm working with women who have experienced trauma, who have had traumatic experiences themselves. And even though this is a prevention model, that we're trying to make sure they get the help and the support that they need so that some of the experiences they had, they don't pass on to their children. And through that, I was like, we can even start younger. So I started focusing on perinatal mental health, women who are pregnant, who even through childbirth or pregnancy have developed a mental illness.
And what's the resilience group? Is that a new
The
thing?
resilience is just that. That
Oh, okay.
we're the Resilience Center of Northeast Louisiana. Is an organization that I founded in February. Actually, just trying to bring more awareness and promotion to the effects of adversity and trauma to make us be more aware that we take a holistic and trauma-informed approach to how we're practicing. And so even though a lot of times we don't look at trauma and the impact of trauma that has on an adult or a child, and sometimes it makes us just take a step back and to look and say, let's look at this in the context of what it is in.
Wow. So if somebody wants to reach out to Resilience, where I'm going to put the address on the screen, but who should reach out? And, I know your address is on, I think, Desert Street, but is it Desert Street?
It's Royal Avenue.
Okay, somewhere in Monroe, but they're going to put it on the screen. But who are your capture audience? Who are your target audience?
Anyone predominantly in the Black community, because I think we don't have that discussion of a lot. We don't think that things are still impacting us as they are. And so if you want just more information or you want to learn about what you can do to help build resilience, help families bounce back, then you can contact me. I'll be willing to have that conversation with you. You can contact me via email at fdownslcsw@gmail or telephone at 318-614-8442. Or you can stop by my office. It's 1821 Royal Avenue, Suite 5.
Awesome. Wow. So you're an entrepreneur, you're a social worker, you're a daughter, sister. I mean, you're a woman, you're a believer, a woman of multiple parts, A big blessing. And what you didn't tell us was that all this time, apart from when you went to Lake Charles, you have centered your work around Monroe.
Correct.
Am I correct? West
That's
Monroe
correct.
or Monroe?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Monroe.
Right.
And I cover, because I was in Columbia, I was in Winsboro.
Okay.
So Northeast Louisiana has primarily been my base.
Now, I heard that we have, and I'm a medical doctor, so I hope my information is correct, but I heard that Louisiana has either the second highest or the number one highest teenage pregnancy in the country.
Yes.
I mean, what is going on in our high schools that we physicians can't handle with contraception? Because one of the saddest things I see on a daily basis, and I'm telling you daily, is a mother bringing in an 11-year-old and telling me to give her, shots or pills or intrauterine devices, and nobody's asking why. It's just, I just don't want her to get pregnant. And I'm like, when did we get to this point when an 11-year-old is being vaccinated literally or being given a preventive tool? When I was 11, I don't think I had those inclinations. But tell me what's going on in our community, because it seems to be high in this area in Louisiana.
I think it's a lack of communication. It's that we don't want to talk about things that are tough, or we don't want to mention it, or we don't want to have the sex education classes, or we don't want to have those open discussions to talk about a woman's body and what that means. And because that discussion also goes further and talk about the value and self-worth that a person may have, that a lot of females feel like, I need this attention. So that goes back to, I'm not getting attention somewhere. Years ago, we used to say a child would rather have a soggy potato chip than no potato chip at all. So we would rather have negative attention than no attention at all. And so if that means that I have to sleep with someone for them to pay attention to me, then I'm willing to do that. And I've met young ladies who we talk about safe sex practices, and they was like, well, he doesn't want to, and felt like they didn't have it was not their decision. that they didn't have a choice in the matter, or he loves me, or this is what, it's okay. At least I have somebody. That we're not willing to have those hard conversations to say that it's okay if you don't have a date, or that you're going to be single, because you're more valuable than someone who's willing to sleep with you and not utilize protection or go against your own values and belief system, to say that at least someone has paid attention to me.
So do you think we have sex trafficking and pimps using teenage girls in Monroe? I'm
Oh,
just asking.
100%.
We do?
I-20 is one of the highest trafficked areas. I recently heard, I've been following Elise Cole, who has done an enormous amount of work in Louisiana and beyond on human trafficking. And one of the things she's talking about is the I-20 corridor from Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, and that we see so many juvenile runaways, we see so many teenage runaways, and it's not just what we feel like is that these popular young women, that is teenagers, and also not just girls, it's also boys that are being trafficked, and that they are being placed right back in our schools, where they are there to recruit other young girls or boys to also become part of this group. And so that they are sold. I've heard survivors speak about the amount of money that they have to go out and make for their daddy, and that's the term that they are called, or how they're branded, and how they're afraid because they've been threatened that they will kill their family or kill a loved one, and so they feel like there is no way out. So there is a high number
In
of
this community. Wow.
of children who are being trafficked.
When we come back next segment, we're going to talk about the African American conundrum, because Felicia brought it up a little bit. She said she emphasizes the African American family because we live in a community and a society where in some parts of the country, 80% of families are run by a single parent, most likely a mom, and it's predominantly in the African American society. We're going to look at it and see what, where, why, how. We weren't like this 40 years ago. It wasn't this prevalent 40, 30 years ago. When did the African American home decimate to this level of insecurity and dysfunctionality? And I'm going to ask from a medical standpoint, and Felicia is going to bring her social work background. You don't want to miss it. We want to be answers. We want to be solutions. We want to be the light in a dark and a dying world. So I want you to join us next week as I continue my show with Felicia Downs, licensed clinical social worker. Recently started an organization called Resilience in Monroe, Louisiana, designed to impact the family. So I want you to take advantage of that. We're going to put her address on the screen. Write to her. Let her know what you need in your family, how your family can bounce back. And I want to hear from you as well. You can write to me, P.O. Box 550, West Monroe 71294. And we want to hear from you how this show has blessed you. Join us on our Holy Ghost nights every last Friday on ICE 165. It's Clarion in Holy Ghost Night. You don't want to miss it. The next one is next month in May. We'll be there last Friday of the month. Look forward to seeing you. Don't forget, join us next week. Jesus is Lord. Amen.